Coffee grounds in the garden. Fact or... Hi Canadian gardeners, cold climate gardeners, and gardeners of the extremes. Welcome to some coffee talk about coffee grounds. I just gleeked. Gleeked? I think it's gleeked, isn't it? Yeah, my name's Ashley if you're new around here. I'm a soil scientist by formal education with a minor in plant science, and on this channel we like to take that science and apply it to the garden and houseplant care. So if you like the sounds of that, be sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if you are enjoying the hack series and you've been around here for a while. I know there are lots of you that are having a ton of fun with this, and I am as well. So today we're talking about coffee grounds. Now, as you know, I am doing an experiment with my tomato patches. I have 4 separate patches and I'm using different methods for each one. And one of the patches I am doing involves the hack series and putting it to test. So I am using coffee grounds as one of the ingredients in the hack to help kind of support my idea about these hacks in the garden. So let's get into the coffee grounds. Well, coffee grounds are used pretty universally. They're kind of referred to as a miracle solution as well, which again, as you know, irritates me. And my goal is always to bring gardening back to the basics with science and try to cut out kind of all the information and just make it simpler for folks to be able to garden and succeed at it. So everything from like a bug deterrent to a cat deterrent, a mulch to a nutrient provider, it's got a whole list of things. Coffee grounds in the garden, nutrient wise, the N value, so the nitrogen value is like 1 to 2, and then the other 2 values, phosphorus and potassium, are 0.3% of the actual profile. So it's pretty low compared to just a conventional or a store-bought organic fertilizer. So keep that in mind. As a mulch, this would work. It's going to kind of support the soil porosity and prevent weeds. I wouldn't put it on too heavily though. When I was reading, I found out that coffee grounds have something called an allopathy. So allopathy is something that's very common in plants. That's why when you're intercropping, you should do some research and not just throw things together. Allopathy is something that seeds naturally have in their profile. And because coffee grounds are technically legume seeds, they also possess an allopathy. The allopathy kind of is a chemical that gets sent out from the seed into the soil. And what that does is it actually prevents anything from growing around the vicinity of that seed. This ensures that that plant doesn't have to compete for nutrients, sun, or water. If it can kill off or suppress all the other seeds, seedlings, or plants around it, it has a better chance of survival. There are lots of plants that contain this, and coffee grounds are particularly good at suppressing the seed germination of tomatoes. So if you're using coffee grounds in a tomato patch, you can expect some suppressed growth. Now, allopathies can vary, and in coffee grounds, when they did studies, they didn't find that it affected the adult plants so much so. The adult plants still grew. However, there was no control method in the study that I looked up that showed the control without coffee grounds versus with coffee grounds and showing the difference between the two. So there could be some form of suppression there that we're not aware of, but that is something to keep in mind. Coffee grounds have allopathy in their seed, and there's lots of seeds that do have that. So keep that in mind when you're doing intercropping. Make sure you look up allopathic tendencies of the seeds you're planting together, because you don't want one suppressing the other. The slug theory is fake. Same with how it was fake with the eggshells. The acidity, also untrue. It is actually very low, and it's got a bit of a kick when you initially put it down, but as you water it and just incorporate it into the soil, eventually it does decrease, so the benefits are completely lost. The allopathic tendencies we were speaking about before also translates over into fungal prevention, so that's kind of cool. There's 2 fungal preventions that I found most interesting in a study that was done, and that is the prevention of Sclerotinia and Fusarium. So these are two very common fungal issues that we find in the garden, and even producers who produce our food on a mass scale also encounter these situations. So Sclerotinia is actually if you've ever, oh, this is gross. If you've ever had sunflower seeds and you're chewing on a sunflower seed and you got kind of this oddly shaped seed looking thing that was still like salted and cooked, that is Sclerotinia. So that is like actually a fungal, it's a fungal piece. And if you ever have bitten into one of those thinking it's going to be a juicy morsel, you've realized very quickly it is very sour and bitter. That is Sclerotinia is, and it affects sunflower seeds, for example, but it also affects a lot of brassica species, such as, cabbages and broccoli, things like that. And then Fusarium is also very common, and it looks like a bacterial infection, and that is something that apparently coffee grounds can help to prevent. And the reason that the coffee grounds prevent this is because these diseases, these fungal growths that eventually attack the top layers of the plant, reside and live in the soil itself. So this is where something like crop rotation is more important than applying coffee grounds. If you're just rotating your crops, your vegetable crops properly, you shouldn't ever run into this issue. And if you do, then there are other methods to control it. Who knew that the topic of coffee grounds would bring gardeners to a new level of expertise in the garden? You've officially learned about allopathy. So this will help you level up your gardening techniques and maybe even school some friends in the art of plant keeping. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you do, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below if you've used coffee grounds or if you've ever chewed on a sunflower Sclerotinia spore before. I've done it. Actually, this is kind of cool, but I used to work for Bayer Crop Science, and I used to do pesticide research with them. And one of the things that we did to kind of cause Sclerotinia in a canola crop, if you don't know what that looks like, I'll insert a photo of it. It's very common here in Saskatchewan. But when I was working with them, we would put the canola in, and then we would seed sunflowers around the outside because we wanted to try to keep the moisture inside of the test plot as high as possible. And as you know, sunflowers and corn are very high, so we planted them at a really close density. This actually increased the moisture inside of the test plot. Then we went around with sunflower seed that was infected with Sclerotinia, so those little gross nodule looking things, and we actually spread those around in the soil, hoping that it would take root so that we could then test the pesticides. So that is actually kind of cool. It was actually kind of interesting to watch the whole trial play out, but it just reminds me of when you get a Spitz bag and you randomly find one of those in there, but it's salted and you're like, oh, this will be good. And it's not. It's always sour and bitter and gross, so kind of fun. If you guys enjoyed this, be sure to give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye. Oh, hey there. Are you still watching? Make sure to hit that subscribe button for some more awesome plant videos.